been wanting to do this for a while, but every time I think about it, so I don't know how I'm gonna actually do this. Okay, I ate a caramel bar to try and make myself happier, and I watched some TikToks. So I'm gonna regroup and try to do this again. Okay, if you're watching this video, thank you. It's going to be about my chronic pain journey, and it's taken me a long time to talk about it because it kills me. It sucks. It sucks really, really bad. I've written a lot of notes so that I can talk about it, and my eyes are swollen because I've been crying about it since. So I'm going to try to get through this. I usually get pretty shaky, but we'll see what I can do. So to start, it started in October 2014. I got pregnant November, so it was like just before I got pregnant. I had been working and my back was a little bit sore just from like sitting in a chair, whatever. And so I had asked Phil to like massage my back, and I was laying on the ground and I had my stomach kind of lifted on like a foam mattress, and he was pushing, and he like pushed on my back, and we both heard this like clunk, and it was like excruciating pain. I didn't want to get up for a bit. But it was kind of like, it was just so weird. It was like, okay, I'm just going to wait it out. Like, I honestly thought like in that moment, like, crap, I'm paralyzed. But I also thought like, no, like I'm fine. It was just like, I remember just being like very confused about it because it hurt so bad. But it was also like he just pushed on my back. Like I'm not paralyzed from him pushing on my back. So yeah, I ended up like walking and just being in like a ton of pain. But again, it was like, I'm imagining this, like he pushed on my back, I'm fine. So I didn't do anything about it. Classic me, just was like, you know what, I'm just gonna like breathe through this, because what am I gonna go tell a doctor that my husband pushed on my back? And like, it just felt so stupid. I felt like embarrassed about it. So I didn't go to a doctor for a couple weeks, and then I found out I was pregnant. So that started the kind of chronic part of it, where I couldn't really get any good imaging done for a while, or any good answers, or really anything. Because then I was pregnant and my belly kept growing. So I had gone to a doctor, and they were kind of like, you probably just pulled some muscles, like go to physio. So I went to, while pregnant, I did physio, I did massage, I ended up doing chiro probably 30-ish week, maybe earlier. But I was in a lot of pain in my pregnancy because I obviously kept getting bigger. And with a back injury, the goal is to honestly like kind of tighten up your core. But I still, like, I say back injury because that just like, it's kind of like where the pain presents. But it was my hip. He pushed on my hip, and my hip is what is the actual issue, and I know it radiates. So I've also done osteopathy while I was pregnant. Like, I did so many things. I had Hazley, and it was a very traumatic delivery. And my plan was to get an epidural because I was like, I'm already in so much pain. I can't imagine trying to push a baby out. So the game plan was epidural, and they tried 3 times, maybe even more, because it was like it was a long time that I sat there while they tried. And then it didn't work, so then they tried again, I believe, because they thought it was working, and then I was like, it was so long after, and I was like, no, like, there's nothing different. And so they actually thought that they had given me maybe a vial of just water, because apparently sometimes that accidentally happens. That's a whole other but I honestly just think my back was just, or I don't know, it was just too messed up. But after I had Hazley, which again, traumatic delivery, they had to like yank her out with a vacuum because she got stuck because my hips are messed up. They wanted to do an MRI of my back because they were certain that's what was wrong. And I was honestly, when I walked into the MRI and it was for my back, I was like, is it going to show my hip? And they were like, oh, it'll show some of it, blah, 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 blah. No, it didn't show any of it. My back was fine. So, honestly, I almost like was like, just felt defeated. Like I was kind of like embarrassed. Like I had been complaining for so long, and then my MRI came back and it was fine. So I was like, maybe this is in my head. Like I don't know what to do anymore. So I kind of just started like living with it, and then it started to get worse. And so I would like randomly talk to my doctor about it, and then I got to the point where I actually had like a panic attack and told, because I went to a sports medicine doctor, and it had been like 2 years at this point, and he was like, and I tried everything. Like I had done everything, and after I'd had Hazley, then I tried everything, and I'd done everything. Wasted all my money, all my coverage, everything on trying to get better. And then I saw a sports medicine doctor, and he didn't want to look at my file. He didn't want to look at my x-rays. I was like, do you want an x-ray? Like, do you want a new one? And he was like, no. I think you should try physio. And I was like, okay, like I respect that, but like, can you at least like pull up my x-ray? Or like pull up an x-ray, or like look at an x-ray, or do anything, because like you're an expert. Like it would be nice to get your opinion on my x-rays. And he was like, no, I don't think we need to do that. I think we just need to start with physio. And so mid speaking with him, I cried and left his office. And I remember just being mortified, because I was just like, thank you for your service, but I disagree, and I'm sad about that. So I still took his form and went to physio without coverage. I ended up getting free coverage, or free physio, through like the hospital at one point, because I was like crying to a doctor about how I didn't have any physio left, or I didn't have any coverage left, and I couldn't keep paying for like $50 3 or 4 times a week when we were on one income. And it was just like, so they sent me up through the free physio through the hospital, but it was still like nothing was working. Sorry, I have notes here because, like I said, so I started like kind of trying to do my own research and like looking into my own like medical history, and like why the F I'm not getting better, why I do everything that I'm supposed to. Like I do all the stretching and all the exercises, and it's been so long, and I've done everything. And so I started like kind of looking into my history, and this is where it kind of like gets TLC medical mystery show-ish. I had a pilonidal cyst when I was in high school, and it's basically, sorry, TMI, a cyst like in my tailbone ruptured, and so I needed to have emergency surgery, and they drained it and whatever. It came back. It ended up being a bigger problem. I've had issues with it, whatever. I thought it was just like a luck of the draw kind of thing. And then a couple years later, and I hate to like throw someone under the bus, but someone else in my family, it happened to them. And I don't want to like, please don't like ask. That's just, I'm sorry to like even say that. But because that happened, I was like, it's such a rare thing that I looked into it. And it has some connections. Like if you look deep into the world of it, you can find some connections with spina bifida and issues with the closing of the bottom of the spine. And so I'm like, I wonder if that's like, if there's some sort of like I'm just built wrong, or if something is going on down there. Like it's just, it's weird. But I had a shoulder injury from a car accident years and years and years ago, and pretty much anytime after I would like extend my arm, it could like dislocate. Like it was just like, what the heck is going on with me? And so I had an MRI for that, and this was like before my hip injury. But my MRI came back fine, and it was like, but the doctor could like literally like, he was like, this is weird, like you would think you had a tear. And so it finally got to the point where they were like, we need to do a scope because it's presenting like you have a tear, but there isn't. So they went in, did a scope, and basically all my like ligaments and tendons were like rubber band stretched. So in an MRI or anything, they looked fine, but they were so hyper stretched, or whatever you want to say. I don't even know how to say it. So he had to like cut pieces off and just tighten up everything. Like it was basically just like the injury, and my body's response was to like loosen the tendons. I don't know. So it makes me think that maybe that is something to do with my hip, that because of getting it injured with Phil pushing on it, which I know like he feels horrible about it. He truthfully like hates himself about that, and I hate that like he's to blame, but I truthfully feel like it's just the straw that broke the camel's back. I think my hip was on its way out. I've played skating sports my whole life. I know that sounds so stupid the way I just phrased that, but I'm just saying that because like skaters usually have like, honestly, like big legs, and like can have hip like flexion and extent, whatever issues. And so like to me, there's just so many like, I don't know. So the shoulder injury, the pilonidal cyst, the possible spina bifida, there's all just like, maybe my hip just overreacted to this injury, because I can now, I can pop it out. I can't pop my other hip out. I can pop this one out. It makes a huge clunk noise. It's excruciating. It's easy to do. Sometimes I need to do it for the pain to like ease up. Like it's just, it doesn't make sense. And then the other thing is, I wonder if maybe I have like a cyst or something in there, because I had this pilonidal cyst issue, which that was like from like the initial injury was I had fallen on my tailbone, and then I thought I just had like a sore, like, you know how when you fall on your tailbone and it's sore for so long? So I thought it was that, and then all of a sudden one day I was like, no, this is like different. So I went to the doctor, and they were like, yeah, you need emergency surgery. And it was like a week later. So like, I don't know how I survived for that. That just kind of shows like, I really do have a high pain tolerance. But I had, I make cysts. I'm a weirdo. I had a cyst when I fell and hurt this wrist. I stood in the laundry basket, and my brother, I think it was my brother, right? Luke, pushed me, and I couldn't put my feet out, so I fell into my wrist, and I tore a ligament in there, and I went to go have surgery like a few years later, or whatever later, and they couldn't fix the tear because of where it was, but there was a cyst in there, so they took the cyst out. And then a couple years later, I was in training to be a paramedic, and so I would like do a lot of work on stretchers, and I got a cyst right here, and so they had to like zipper cut that one out because it was a super painful one. I also have one right here that doesn't really bother me. It's just sometimes I like feel it and I'm like, that's so weird. So I'm like, maybe there's a cyst in there. But the reason that I'm like doing this is because it's always just been a huge problem, a huge pain in my butt. But in the last like month or so, it's gotten to the point where when I stand for any point of time, any amount of time, it feels like my lower back is caving in. I don't know how to explain it. It feels like my legs are giving out. Like it takes me a long time to recover after. I don't know what's happening to me. It's scaring me. I truthfully think I'll be in a wheelchair soon if I can't get this figured out. And for anyone that knew me growing up, I played all the sports. I was very active. I would play through any injury, which I'm sure is partly to blame for this. But like, I would, the night before I had my shoulder surgery, I played ringette because I'm an idiot. I broke my finger and I took my cast off so I could play, and then I would put it back on. Like, I know I treated my body like crap, and I think it's mad at me, and I just wish I could go back and I wish I could change it. I totally screwed up. I didn't stretch after I would play sports, really. Like, only if someone literally like was like, okay, we're doing stretching now. Like, if it was like optional, I just took off. Like, now here I am, 28. No one believes me that I'm in so much pain. I actually called I had an urgent care appointment like a week or so ago because I was like, at the point where I was like, I can't stand anymore. Like, what is happening? And so they had like a phone call appointment for 10 minutes from then. So I did that. And he was like, this is so crazy. Like, is there any way you could come in? So I went in. I drove over there, which is excruciating because it's my freaking driving leg. And he examined me for a few minutes. And then he was like, yeah, I think we should do another MRI of your back. And I was like, no, like, there should be an MRI of my hip or something. Like, there's something growing in there. There's something wrong in my hip. And he was like, it doesn't present like a typical hip injury. Buddy, it's been what are we at now? 6 years? It's not going to present like a typical anything at this point. And that's what's like frustrating to me. Like, my chiro, every time I go to him, he, my hip is so out, he puts it in and he's like, I honestly don't know what to do anymore. Anything that you've presented with should be okay by now. And it's not. So you need to seek other things. Like, you need to like, so like, I'm like, I want to try holistic things. Like, I'm not a pain med kind of girl. It really scares me to just be on pain meds. I have 2 kids that I need to be present for. I can't be like drugged up. The only thing I've agreed to is nerve pain meds, which I take at night so I can sleep, but that doesn't help me during the day. So I'm on, what is it? Gabapentin. And like, it's just a joke. I just don't put myself up because I've just been like shuffled off by different doctors. So I'm like, why would I go to anyone anymore? Maybe it'll just slowly kill me. I don't know. I hope I left a good impression on my kids. Like, fuck. Because nobody seems to want to fix me, can fix me, has any idea how to fix me. It's getting so progressively worse in the last month. It's just like, I know I feel dramatic, but to think about how active I was and to what I am now is I need so much help. So I feel like I probably missed so many things. But that's where my life's at right now. I want to add that this makes me suicidal. Absolutely. Would I do it? No. I have kids. I'll sit here and be in pain. I'll sit in a ball and cry in the corner because I can't do anything, but I'm not going to, like, but let me tell you, being in this much pain and having those, like, kind of like, fuck my life, like, what is even, like, it eats you away. Like, I just feel like I'm a bad mom at this point. I love my kids so much that I wouldn't do anything, but, like, I'm just in so much pain that I'm like, I'm not present. I'm there, but I'm not present. I try my hardest. I do my hardest, but, like, I literally have to, like, okay, guys, I gotta sit down for a few minutes. And, like, I know that's, I guess, not the worst thing in the world, but, like, I just had higher hopes for my parenting. My entire parenting experience has been in pain. So, if you have any ideas, I've definitely, like, thought fibro, but I also, like, I'm iffy because it's so focused on one spot. But the other thing I guess I should add is any of my injuries from before, like any of my surgeries or any of my whatever, when it's temperature changes, oh my gosh, like, I'm in so much pain. Or, like, when it rains, it's horrible. So I don't know if that's anything, but I'm sure nobody made it this far. If you did, wow, I love you. Yeah, I feel pretty destroyed lately, so this is me at my worst. Very, like, what is it? This is rock, hard place. Me with no bra on, so